What it does do, everybody, it's your boy Zenkai, and today we got some more Black Myth Wukong. However, with a little bit of a twist. This game is not a Souls-like. And the game devs want that to be clear. But what if I made it more like a Souls-like? What if I made this game as hard as possible? So, what would that look like? Much like a professional Pokemon Nuzlocke, I will be imposing a level cap for all 6 chapters. Or in this case, a spark cap. Leveling up only provides sparks, so this rule will be relatively easy to follow. I will also allow myself just 10 sparks to spend each chapter, coming to a grand total of 60 sparks by the end of the game. So I must be efficient with how I allocate them. Why 10? It's just to make the progression still feel gradual while also conforming to the level requirements of certain skills and abilities. Additionally, I must also use the default equipment provided to me, meaning I can't equip new gourds, soaks, curios, medicines, vessels, weapons, or armor. This effectively eliminates the need to explore the map or open any chests. Speaking of exploration, I am also not allowed to use any of the celestial pills located around the map that increase my stats, including using mind cores. I am also not allowed to upgrade any of my equipment or spirits, yet no 10 gourd uses that heal 55% of your HP for me. However, just to keep this challenge a little bit more doable, I will still be allowing myself to use all the skills in the game, including Pluck of Many, as well as any spirits or transformations I find along the way. Lastly, I must defeat every boss in the game using this rule set. Without further ado, let's see just how hard this game can be.
Oh shit.
Here we go again.
So we start off our first battle against Erlang Shen. Now, this battle is not particularly difficult, but it will be later on in the story, and I don't even think you can lose this fight. This is a scripted fight, so there's not really much to this fight, so let's move on.
And upon the return of the relics to Mount Tuaguo, he may yet rise again.
Alright, we know what we gotta do now, so let's do it. This may be the worst decision of my life, I don't know yet. Damn, I'm not even allowed to equip headgear? Oh boy. This might be a long game. Some of these require being all the way to 60. So that's gonna pose its own problem. I need to be level 30. Game's running kind of horribly right now, no? Now here we're going to pull up on our first boss of the game, the Bullguard. Now he's not meant to be very difficult, he's just meant to wet your feet into the combat of this game. Additionally, this is also where we pick up our first spell of the game, Immobilize. With the Immobilize spell, we quickly dispatch of him and then move on. And then we meander on over to the Wandering Wight. Now this is the first skill check boss in the game that will probably give you trouble. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason, I decided to ego this boss. So, I ended up picking up my first 4 deaths. After that first death, I decided to spend my first 2 sparks on Simian Agility and Deft Evasion. I thought they'd be enough to give me the edge in this battle, but I was wrong. Eventually, I decided to stop egoing the boss with no skills or abilities to my name, and instead go to the other side of the map so I can make this fight a little bit easier. On this side of the map, we meet Guangzhi. Now, he is a very fair fight compared to the Wandering Wight. He doesn't have a very large health pool, but he does a decent amount of damage. Really, all you have to look out for are his dashes. Other than that, he's a very simple dodge. The only other thing is that he is the first enemy that we are approaching that has a status affliction, or 4 Banes. In this case, he has Scorch. And by defeating him, we acquire our first transformation of the game. We ring the bell behind him and move on to the next area. But before that, we got to invest a point into Pillar Stance, Endurance, and Everlasting Vigor so we can get one step closer to getting Composure. With those acquired, I think we can finally take on the Wandering Wight, and it should go a lot better this time. With the Wandering Wight defeated, we acquire our first spirit of the game, but we can't use it until a little bit later in Chapter 1. Then we're moving on to our next objective at Guanyin Temple, where we're going to face Lingxuzi. But first, let's spend our next 3 spark points on Composure and Exhilaration. Now, Lingxuzi may look like a big bad wolf, but in actuality, he's more of a cuddly kitten. Surprisingly, he really doesn't hit that hard. He doesn't have a very large health pool. This fight was clearly designed to be very easy. The only things you have to look out for are him speed blitzing you from the roof and maybe some stray hits, but other than that, we'll dispatch of him quite promptly. I then pick up another point in Exhilaration. Moving on to the next area, we meet Li Guai, who allows us to absorb spirits with our gourd. Then we pull up to our next boss, Guangmou. Now, this guy's a bit of a trash can. All he does is poison you. Other than that, he doesn't have a very large health pool. He doesn't hit very hard. Very easy fight.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
I then ring the bell and equip my new Wandering Wight Spirit, as well as save Shen Monkey, but we can't use his services. Right next to him, we meet our next boss, the Whiteclad Noble. This is the first boss in the game that actually has 2 phases. And something I didn't know about his phase 2 is he actually regens health. He's pretty good at catching you off guard, he has a lot of dashing attacks, and it's very easy to unexpectedly die to him. He even catches me off guard and ends up killing me. But the second attempt goes much better. With him defeated, we ring our final bell and move to the secret area of this chapter, the ancient Guanyin Temple. The only thing of note here is Elder Jinchi, which is a spitting image of the Wandering Wight, which him and the Wandering Wight are the same character. They have pretty much the same moveset, he just hits a lot harder.
Playing a game of whack fuck here. Whack!
And for some reason, they decided in this version of the boss to give him a second phase where he floats in the air, heals, and you can't hit him. That one sucked. I trolled that one. With him defeated, we set free the soul of the original Lingxuzi, and we also acquire the Fireproof Mantle, which, unfortunately, we cannot use in this challenge. Guys, don't tell me to unequip it. I can't. I tried. We then move to the Black Wind Cave area, where we will fight our next boss, the Black Wind King. This is what I would consider the second worst designed boss in this chapter. The first being another variation of this boss. So yeah, you can already tell I don't like the way that this boss plays. Similar to Elder Jinchi, he has multiple phases where you can't hit him and he turns into a black puff cloud, the Black Wind. Ugh, what's that smell? Ugh! I think it's shit! Additionally, he also does a lot of teleporting, which will be a very common thing for many bosses in this game. Aside from sporadic bullshit, we dispatch of him rather quickly. Like the little pussy-ass bitch he is, he runs away. On the bright side, we acquire our next new spell, Cloud Step. Before progressing to the final boss of the game, I have to backtrack and go fight one of the frog bosses of the game, Baw-Li-Guhh-Lang. Now later on in the game, these guys will have things like status afflictions, but for now, this is just simply a regular frog. Frog bosses characteristically have a low HP pool, but they do a good amount of damage. Aside from that, there's not really much to this fight. He does give us a spirit for our trouble, though. We're now on the final boss of the chapter, the Black Bear Guai. Now, if you couldn't tell from what I said earlier, this is the worst boss design in the game, because it is also just another variation of the Black Wind King. Instead of doing a lot of teleporting, he does a lot of leaping and dashing and going invulnerable with his black cloud. Now, this wouldn't be a problem, but he is part of a class of bosses in this game I would call giant bosses. Now, the biggest problem with these kinds of bosses are the camera angle for them is god-awful. For 90% of this fight, I am staring directly at his crotch. I can't even see his arms half the time. And another thing is, these big bosses, they have really bad hitboxes. I'm sure as you can see with Lingxuzi, he has a bit of a better hitbox than this boss. But there were still times where I would be hitting him and just attacks would just glide between his legs or something, or he would move slightly and I wouldn't hit him. And quite frankly, it feels really bad to be doing your combo and just have like 2 or 3 attacks not hit. My bad. I guess I missed because it was a skill issue. My bad. Not because he has a terrible fucking hitbox or anything. I don't know, man. It's just like... this boss just has such a big problem with its hitbox. Like, it's just so noticeable when I'm doing my combo and just like 2 or 3 attacks just aren't hitting him. Like, the damage difference, it's just so noticeable. It's really, really bad. I'm genuinely surprised that they decided to release this boss this way. Like, I don't understand. I don't know, maybe it's just because like other people have like all their ability, like they have a lot more sparks, they can actually spend their sparks, but like at this point in the game, like I don't think anyone like actually tested this boss. Dude, it's every time, man. And additionally, at this point in the game, I had not restarted my computer yet, and I was starting to get really bad frame drops. And this boss fight with frame drops is probably one of the worst bosses in the game because of all the particle effects with the fire. What is even happening? This is really bad. I don't understand why it's running like ass right now. Dude. Like, I just dropped 30 fucking frames right there. That's really bad. Dude, I'm just repeatedly dropping 20 to 30 frames. This is like... it's like disorienting. I don't know what the fuck's going on half the time because the frames aren't there. Dude! I've never dropped this many frames in my entire, like, this is pathetic levels of bad. He also does these leaping attacks. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with leaping attacks. Now, the problem with his leaping attacks are, they're based on where you are. So, for example, if you decide to dodge when he's leaping at you, he's able to hover in the air for an extra couple of milliseconds, and it will fuck you every single time. This is also apparent with the Black Cloud, where if you're trying to dodge him, it already is going way too fast to be, you can barely even react to it. And on top of that, if you make any type of dodge before it starts going, it'll make a micro adjustment. It is god awful. I don't know what they were thinking. I could have been spared from this atrocity, but unfortunately, I caught a very early death, and it kind of shattered my mental. So the rest of this, I'll let you see what happened.
long I've been waiting for this. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here. Fuck!
Is that all you've got?
Oh, you see this guy? See this guy? Number one bullshit guy. He do the wee woo.
Your ass!
I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much reading.
Put the stinky on him.
What are you aiming at?
What the fuck, man?
Hey, but a scratch.
And right at that moment, when you cross over from this world into the next, I'm gonna you in the air.
Okay!
Let him cook! Let him cook now! Let him cook! I said let him cook!
There was a misinput. Calm down! You calm the fuck down!